Hey folks, Dr. Rob Jones here, heydrrob.com. Again, talking about the flexion intolerant back, the back that hurts when you round to bend over to pick something up or when you sit improperly. Again, moving properly is going to help that. The previous exercises we did are going to help strengthen up the core in the right way. Let's talk about stretching. I get this all the time from patients. They say, well, Dr. Rob, I do a ton of stretching, but my back still hurts. Well, again, statistically, you don't want to move this and you don't want it flexible, because if you look at the research, it really shows that if you have greater ranges of motion in your lower back, you're going to have higher rates of injury. This area of your spine is designed to be mobile, okay? We want to be flexible through the hips, which includes quads, hip flexors, glutes, and hamstrings, and we want to be flexible up through the thoracic spine, which is from here to here. We don't want flexibility in the lumbar spine. So the last thing you want to do with flexion intolerance, even if you feel tight, you don't want to bend over to touch your toes. And I explained this on a previous video with all the neurology, so you can go back to that. If you haven't seen it, or if you really don't quite understand it, watch it again. But when I bend over to stretch my back muscles here, I am stretching them, but I'm causing the discs to bulge back, so it's just going to make the muscles tighter. So if you feel a little tight, again, go through the flexion intolerant movement cycle, because as you move properly, that tightness will get better on its own, believe it or not. And then you can do some of the exercises, bear, bird, dog, bridge, to get everything firing properly. But if you still feel a little tight, here's some basic moves. Okay, so let's start with quads. If you want to stretch your quads, grab your ankle. If you're not very flexible, grab your pant leg. Most people will pull the heel to the butt, call it good. What we actually want to do is, yes, pull the heel to the butt, but then what we want to do is we want to take the hip into extension, okay, which is this movement. Now notice I'm not doing this, I'm doing this, okay? Now I can feel a pretty good stretch all the way up. Now I'm going to give myself a little glute squeeze, and I'm just going to hold that position right there. I'm going to keep this leg close to my other leg, and again, as I get a little more flexibility going, as the stretch increases, I can feel a really good stretch through my whole of my quad. Okay, I'm gonna hold this like any other stretch for about 20 or 30 seconds. Okay, that's number one, there's your quadricep stretch. Number two, hamstring stretch. Again, useless to bend over and touch your toes, okay? You wanna build tension through the posterior chain, which is hamstring and glute, and you do it a couple of easy ways. Number one, put your heel out in front of you like this, push your hips back, right there I've got a nice hamstring stretch. That's it, plain and simple. If I want to add in what we call a nerve glide, if you've got a little sciatic pain going on, you can pump back and forth like this. You'll feel the stretch increase, and then it decreases a little bit. Whichever one feels good, you can sit here and hold it, again, 20 to 30 seconds, or you can do some nerve flossing like this, again, 20 to 30 seconds. If you want to put your foot up on something, elevate. Find a bench, find a chair, find a couch. Very simply, leg up here, chest up. Again, I'm not dropping my chest down. I'm just coming forward like this, getting a nice hamstring stretch. Now, another thing you can do with the hamstring to increase it is flex your quad. It's called reciprocal inhibition. When you flex the quad, the hamstring has to relax. It's just how we work. So if you flex that quad, come forward, you're gonna get a nice, big, good stretch in your hamstring. Okay, quads and hamstrings out of the way. Let's move up the chain. If we wanna do the hip flexors, we can do this a couple of different ways. We can go down to a knee, like so. We can basically rock forward until you feel a little stretch through here. I don't want you to hyperextend your lower back. What we're gonna do here is squeeze the butt muscle. Again, reciprocal inhibition. When you squeeze here, this will let this go. Keep pushing your hip forward. And that gives you plenty of stretch, call it good. Personally, I don't feel much here, so what I'm gonna do is reach my arm up. I can put it on the back of my head or reach up. I'm gonna turn away from my opposite side, or I'm going to turn towards the side of stretch, reach my hand in this direction up there, squeeze my glute. I'm going to get a nice hip flexor and psoas stretch through here. It's normal to feel it up into your abdominal wall because that muscle goes all the way up to L1. It's going in behind. It attaches from the lesser trochanter here. It goes in behind all the way up to L1 into the vertebral bodies and discs up here, okay? So here and here, squeeze your glute, hold it for 20 or 30 seconds. There's your psoas stretch. If you don't have a good knee, you can stand up. Hold on to something for support, or not, or you can just put your hand on your opposite knee. Go into this position, rock forward. Again, don't hyperextend. If you feel it in your back, you're hyperextending. Go into a little pelvic tilt here by squeezing your glute, push that heel to the ground. Same thing, I've got a nice big stretch here. If you want to increase it and feel it down in the lesser trochanter and up into the belly of the psoas as well, come up here, reach up this way. Again, 20 to 30 seconds. Okay, there's hamstrings, quads, psoas, hip flexors. Now let's get into our glutes. Super easy. We all sit too much during the day, so we might as well stretch our glutes. So again, chest up, none of this chest to knee stuff. Let's just go into a simple cross leg stretch here, figure 4 stretch. And all I'm going to do is keep my chest up. I'm going to raise my downside heel off the ground. I am not going to push down here. You'll see a lot of people lever this down. What it does is it takes the femoral head, which is the joint of the hip, and cranks it upward, and that's going to stretch out all the ligaments in the front of the hip. That's no bueno. You do not want to do that. Chest up, heel up, okay? And for me, that's plenty good. I don't really need to do much more. If you're pretty flexible, keep your chest up, come forward a little bit, and you're getting a nice big stretch through your glutes and into those deep hip rotators, okay? Again, 20, 30 seconds. After that, you can just change this up slightly, and we're going to pull the knee towards the opposite shoulder here. Cross your fingers, heel's going to come up off the ground. Again, we're going to pull that knee towards your opposite shoulder. Slight turn, we're not trying to over twist. And then again, here we go. You should feel it into a different spot in the glutes, and just hold that position right there, and you've got a nice stretch for 20 or 30 seconds. Okay? So you can do those seated, super, super easy to do, you know, at your computer terminal at work or at home sitting on the couch. If you are wanting to be a little bit more flexible, what you can do is you can work on pigeon pose, which I think this is a great stretch, but it's just not as convenient because you've actually got to get on the ground. Very simply, if you get down like this, go into a push-up position here. This back leg is going to go here. This front leg is coming up underneath, and all you're going to do is fish this back leg up, and you're going to slowly push this downside hip towards the ground. Now you'll see a lot of people collapse down and rest in this position. That won't do anything for the glute stretch. All that's going to do is flex your lower back out, and again, we don't want to do that. Okay, so we'll do it on this side now. Stretch that back leg straight back. This foot's coming up underneath. And what we're just going to fish that back leg back, and we're going to slowly push that hip in that direction. And what you can do too is you can walk your hands towards the side of the stretch, and you'll actually feel more of a stretch increase here. Again, don't collapse down. If you get a little bit of knee pain with this, you're probably better off to do the seated stretch. So there you go. Safe, easy stretching that you can do after you walk. You can do it if your hips are a little bit stiff, if your back's a little bit stiff. Stretching out those glutes, hamstrings, and quads, they will help loosen up that lower back. But again, don't stretch your back out. Keep it in lordosis. It will naturally loosen up with the previous exercises I've given you. So until next time, don't forget to protect your back.